All right, so hello everyone. I'm joined today by Dr. Colleen McClung. I'm so excited to have her on the channel today. Dr. McClung is a professor of psychiatry and clinical and translational science at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. She also runs the McClung Lab and is also the director of the Center for Adolescent Reward Rhythms and Sleep, which is a translational research center. Her primary research interests or kind of areas of expertise include circadian rhythms in psychiatric disorders, as well as molecular mechanisms of psychiatric disorders, and just kind of everything at play with that. So thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. McClung.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, happy to be here.
All right. So I've been doing this project over the last 6 or 7 months looking at metabolic therapies to treat my schizoaffective disorder. And I've always understood that sleep is a really important kind of component of metabolic therapies. And I think that that's something that everyone is just kind of told many times over, that sleep is really important, especially as it pertains to managing mental illness. But I think I've struggled a little bit with actually implementing it or really strictly focusing on it because I don't really understand it much beyond just that it's good for me or that it can benefit my experience of mental illness. I don't understand, why. So I'm wondering if you could maybe start off with just kind of explaining more what the connection or relationship is between sleep and circadian rhythm and mental illness.
Yeah, so sleep and circadian rhythms are really fundamental to mental illness in a number of ways. In fact, pretty much every single psychiatric disorder across the board has some sort of disruption to sleep and circadian rhythms as a core feature of that disorder. For example, if you have major depression, people will either sleep too much or not sleep enough. So it really is a central feature to a lot of these psychiatric disorders. So we know, for example, that people who have circadian rhythm and sleep problems, either genetic problems or environmentally caused problems, are more vulnerable to developing psychiatric disorders, or if they already have a psychiatric disorder, or it can make people more vulnerable to an episode. So you might be going along fine, and then, stay up all night or travel overseas or something that's going to really disrupt those circadian rhythm and sleep patterns. And more than anything else, that will trigger an episode for people. Sometimes even first psychosis episodes are triggered by having a lack of sleep, for not sleeping enough. And so sleep and circadian rhythms are really, they're very fundamental to mood regulation, to reward regulation, all those processes that contribute to psychiatric disorders.
Right. So I guess actually it might be helpful for people to hear what exactly is a circadian rhythm. What is that in relation to sleep, or what is a circadian rhythm? Can you start with explaining that too?
Yeah. So circadian rhythms are your body's 24-hour rhythms. They are very ancient. This is a process that happens in nearly every single organism on the planet, from cyanobacteria, algae, plants, animals, all the way up to humans. And it's essentially a system that allows your brain and your body to anticipate the light-dark cycles. And it's not just being responsive to light or responsive to dark, but there's really an internal circadian pacemaker that will regulate rhythms over a 24-hour cycle, even in the absence of light or any kind of cues. So it's really a fundamental biological process that can be set by the environment, set by light, set by other cues, but also is an internal process. And of course, sleep is the main sort of thing we think about with circadian rhythms, where the sleep-wake cycle is very intricately timed, so that in humans, we are diurnal, which means we sleep at night and we are awake during the day. For other animals, it's the opposite, right? For mice, they're sleeping during the day and awake during the night. And but circadian rhythms are also present in nearly every single process that goes on in the brain, in the body. Things like your blood pressure, your body temperature, your heart rate, your digestion. I could go on, but every process in the brain and the body is controlled by this circadian rhythm and this internal 24-hour clock.
Right. So I guess that makes sense why it's so important in terms of various mechanisms of health. But I guess I'm wondering specifically, how can regulating sleep and your circadian rhythm improve mental health in particular, or the experience of symptoms or whatnot?
Yeah, there's been a number of studies that have been done where people have been put on this cognitive behavioral therapy called interpersonal and social rhythm therapy, which is basically a therapy where people go to sleep at the same time every day. They wake up at the same time every day, eat at the same time, have social interactions at the same time of day. And so they're really trying to regulate that sleep-wake cycle and make it very consistent from day to day. And what studies have found is that in people who have psychiatric disorders, this is extremely beneficial. It really helps to control mood, stabilize mood. It helps to improve cognition. It helps just general ability to function, energy levels. All of these things are much more stabilized, and most importantly, to help to not allow episodes to be precipitated. So whether it be a psychotic episode or a manic episode in the case of bipolar disorder, or a depressive episode, if you stabilize those sleep-wake cycles, it really seems to be very therapeutic for people in terms of just controlling overall mood, almost like a mood stabilizing medication or something like that, where you don't get that precipitation of episodes.
So that makes a lot of sense to me. Anecdotally speaking, I think that that's definitely been in line with my experience, whereby if I'm more regimented and things like going to bed and waking up at the same time and staying on top of getting good quality sleep, it definitely improves my experience of my symptoms. But, you mentioned going to bed at the same time or waking up at the same time, but what other steps or actions can people take to kind of better regulate their circadian rhythm in order to improve their mental health?
So since circadian rhythms are regulated by external factors like light and social interactions and the time of day when we eat and things like that, you can use that to your advantage to really help set those rhythms in a way that you want your rhythms to be. So, for example, getting morning sunlight is really helpful in setting that rhythm for the beginning of the day and having you wake up at a time of day that your body really wants to wake up. And then at night, keeping things dark, not being on an electronic device at night. I know that's hard. A lot of people like to, be on their cell phones and things at night, but really trying to avoid, light at night and trying to kind of keep things dark and keep things quiet at night so that you can go to sleep. Also, having regular meal times where you're not eating in the middle of the night or something like that, because food actually can entrain your body almost as well as light. And so, having kind of consistent meal times and especially not eating in the middle of the night can be really helpful. But just kind of being aware of how light can affect you, how food can affect you, and those sorts of things to try to make consistent wake times, consistent bedtimes, to keep that cycle regular.
Right. That's hard to avoid screens and whatnot at bedtime. I'm
hard,
wondering if things like blue light glasses can still be of benefit in terms of kind of stopping that.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people in our clinics will use blue blocking glasses at night, or will use blue blocking filters on their devices so that you're not getting, because blue light is really the light that can set your circadian clock. It has the strongest effect on your circadian clock. And so any way at night that you can get rid of that blue light is going to be beneficial. But then in the same token, in the morning, you want to get lots of light. You want to have lots of sun, especially if you can get natural sunlight. If you can get exercise in the morning, great. All those things are going to help to get you like awake in the morning, started in the morning, and then kind of slow it down at night.
So, we're always told focus on sleep and whatnot. And I think maybe sometimes people have this idea that, okay, I'll just get one good night's good night of rest and I'll be okay. But I'm kind of wondering if you can speak more to the long-term approach to improving sleep or circadian rhythm and, how getting good sleep for a period of 6 months or a year or even longer can be of benefit as opposed to just focusing on it on a more short-term basis.
Yeah, people kind of sometimes have this idea that they can bank sleep or they can, go without sleep
Yeah.
for a while and then get one good night's sleep and then they're good. Yeah, that's not really true. Um,
Yeah.
you unfortunately, for a lot of people with busy lives, it's not really true. So yeah, it's really important over time to really have, consistent, good quality sleep. And yeah, the timing of sleep is also important to really try to have sleep be as regular as possible in terms of the timing of sleep. So not just the amount of sleep, but the time in which you go to bed. That consistency is really what's important. And over time, if you have all these disruptions to your sleep-wake cycle, and short amount of sleep where you're not getting all those restorative processes that you need, to really make sure your cells are functioning properly, it will take a toll. There's a lot of studies that show that will start to lead to a buildup of toxins in the brain. It'll start to lead to a buildup of oxidative stress, to other sorts of processes in the cells that lead to neuroinflammation, things that are really, over time gonna be bad for the function of your, not just your brain, but for everything in your body. Your metabolism doesn't work as well when you're not sleeping. Just about everything is really impacted. Sleep is one of those fundamental things that, not just humans, right? All animals sleep. And so it's just a really important fundamental biological process. And so trying to regulate that as much as possible, particularly for people who have psychiatric disorders, I think it's a really crucial aspect that is often overlooked. And so getting that proper sleep over time is going to be really important in making sure that you don't make things worse, that you don't, contribute more towards more episodes, more, inflammatory processes and other things that could be detrimental in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a foundational piece to maintaining wellness that, yeah, I think is often overlooked. But thank you for explaining more about that. And so something else that I wanted to talk to you about that's kind of exciting is I know you recently received funding as a part of the team at the University of Pittsburgh for a randomized control trial looking at the impact of the ketogenic diet on bipolar disorder. And so as a neuroscientist specializing in circadian rhythms and psychiatric disorders, I'm kind of wondering if you can speak more to the interplay between metabolic therapies like the ketogenic diet and sleep regulation. Do they complement each other, or is there anything to be aware of when implementing both interventions, or how do those kind of go hand in hand?
Yeah, we're very excited about this project. We're really just getting started, and one of the things we're really hoping to learn more about is exactly how the ketogenic diet does affect the circadian system and the sleep system. We've known for a long time that circadian rhythms are intricately involved in metabolic control. So both at the cellular level and at the whole body level. So actually the real ancestral function of circadian rhythms is really at the cellular level to help regulate energy and help regulate metabolism so that you're making maximal use of your energy resources at the right time of day, and then you're kind of taking care of the byproducts of that energy, at the time when you're supposed to be sleeping. So circadian rhythms and metabolism are very, very tightly controlled. And so, there's every reason to believe that if you are on a diet that has a certain protein content or a certain carbohydrate content, that's going to really impact the circadian clock. And in turn, the circadian clock is going to impact how the metabolism of those nutrients are utilized. And so we really feel like there's going to be a very tight relationship, but we don't know exactly what it is yet because we're just starting the project. But there are a lot of circadian therapies that have been developed around things like weight loss. So things like time-restricted feeding, where people are eating at only certain times of day or only within a certain window of time to really, again, maximize those sort of metabolic effects. Those have been used for now quite a while, and people are really, seeing good results in terms of other sort of metabolic issues. So there's a very tight link, and so we're excited to see how the ketogenic diet affects circadian rhythms and sleep specifically.
Yeah, I think I was really interested in how my experience of sleep changed when I started the ketogenic diet. At first, I went through a period of feeling like I just didn't need as much sleep, and I'm not sure what that was about, if that is explained by science. But yeah, I guess interested in how they interplay. Can you speak a little bit more to exactly what is going on from like a metabolic perspective with sleep and why that is actually a metabolic therapy?
Yeah, sleep. I mean, during a sleep, there's really a lot of things that are happening. So a lot of people think of sleep as kind of like you're just quiet, all your cells kind of are just quiet, but that's not really true. During sleep, there's actually a lot of active processes that are going on. There's, a flushing of your brain, basically, this lymphatic system that kind of flushes out toxins that have built up during the day and then need to be flushed out at night. Same within your cells. There's your cells, mitochondria, the little energy producing parts of the cells. They're making a lot of byproducts that, then can become toxic over time. These oxidative stress related factors, free radicals, they need to be expelled and taken care of. And so during sleep, there's a lot of real active processes going on that are helping to kind of clear out your system and clear out the byproducts of the things that have happened during the day. So if you don't have that happen, right, if you're not getting sleep, if you're not getting that restorative process going on, then over time, this can build up, and it can really affect the function of your cells, your brain, your entire body. Basically, is going to be impacted by the fact that you're just not able to have all that clearing out that you need to have while you're asleep. There's a lot of other things that happen during sleep in terms of memory consolidation, cognitive function. So there's been a lot of work over the years in terms of how if you learn a task and then you go to sleep, you can actually remember it better in the morning, as opposed to just, if you learn a task, don't sleep, and then you don't remember it as well. So there's a lot of active processes happening during sleep. And so it's really important to make sure that, you're getting that good quality sleep each night to allow that memory formation, allow those processes to clear out all the byproducts of the day, and not allow them to build up over time and cause problems.
Right. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. We focused a lot on the medical ketogenic diet as a means of repairing mitochondrial functioning and whatnot, but it makes complete sense that it's super important to focus on other metabolic therapies like sleep as well to help with that, cleansing out process and helping to remove byproduct and whatnot. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing more about sleep as a metabolic therapy. I'm wondering if you'd like to tell us a bit more about this study in particular or any other studies that you're currently involved with.
Oh, our lab's involved in a lot of different studies right now that are really exciting. A lot of our work is really trying to understand these mechanisms of how circadian genes, so genes that control the circadian clock, or how sleep affects the brain and affects the cells in the brain in particular ways. So we have a lot of really exciting projects in that direction. I direct a center where we're really focused on adolescence as a critical time period and trying to understand how sleep disruption and the circadian misalignment that's caused by adolescents, they go through this natural process where they want to wake up later and go to bed later. They all kind of become night owls during that time. But they have to get up and go to school really early in the morning. And this causes this kind of almost like jet lag. We call it social jet lag. So we have a center where we're really working on trying to understand how this chronic sleep restriction and kind of jet lag that's happening during this vulnerable period of adolescence contributes to risk for psychiatric disorders. And we're really, really deeply involved in that project. We have human and rodent studies trying to really understand this. And so I think that's critical because, it's happening to a lot of our teenagers just because of, having to go to school early in the morning and having a lot of homework and things and screens at night that they're on. And so I think that's one of the things we're really particularly involved with, is trying to understand how all of this is impacting the developing brain during adolescence, because it's a very crucial time where people are at risk for psychiatric diseases. But yeah, so lots of exciting things going on in our lab. But we're also very excited about this ketogenic diet project and trying to really get into the mechanisms and understand how it's working.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like really incredible work. I love that it's focusing on, kind of more natural interventions that people can focus on in terms of improving their health or reducing predisposition to psychiatric disorders or whatnot. So very cool. Thank you very much for sharing more with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. McClung, for joining us. Is there anywhere that people can go to learn more about the work that you're doing?
Yeah, we have a website. It's I think it's McClung. I forget what the website, but we do have a website people could go to. There's also our center, the Center for Adolescent Reward Rhythms and Sleep. There's a website for that as well. If you go to the Pitt Psychiatry webpage, you can find my profile and you can find my website there. Okay. So yeah, people can go and of course they can read our papers and things like that too.
Awesome. Well, we will link to both those in the description below if people want to learn more about the work that you're doing. Thank you so much again for joining us. It was great hearing from you.
Yeah, thank you.